It is Lunch and Learn on Kansas Day. I hope you guys are having a good Kansas Day. Are you? Awesome. Hopefully, you've seen and learned a few things today that you're like, oh, I didn't know Kansas was so awesome. We are. And it's awesome that you are here with us. So, we're dialing in from my favorite part of the state. We're going to the Sedgwick County Zoo. Hey, Kara.
Hi, everybody.
So, Kara, we have friends. There are 66 classrooms in here right now, meaning we've got rock stars in every corner of the state. And students and teachers especially, if you would pop over into the Q&A, that is an area where you have questions for Kara. You type those questions in, and then I will relay them to her. And let's put the town and the school that you're at so we can give you a high five, a shout out during the call. We've already got Mrs. Mark Lou's class dialing in, is first one to call in for the roll call. But, Kara, here's something really cool. Sadly, we had to not offer our bison section earlier today, but you've got some bison goodness for us today. Yes?
We do. We are here at the bison exhibit at Sedgwick County Zoo, and bison are our state mammal. So it seemed like a great place to start. So I think what we're going to do is walk up the boardwalk so that we can get a good look at these very big, shaggy beasts. They're back over here enjoying the day because it's beautiful out here today. Oh, yes, I can see the whole herd over there. Clint, are you able to get a picture of them yet?
Just barely through the trees.
Well, it gets a lot more clear right here.
There we go.
So that is our herd of bison. And the bison is different than a buffalo, but you will not be counted wrong if you call them buffalo. When the early explorers came through North America, they saw these big animals and thought they kind of looked like water buffalo. And so that's how they got their common name. Their scientific name is one of my favorites because in college I had to memorize scientific names, and theirs was the easiest to memorize. It is bison bison. That's their first and last scientific name. So it's always fun to remember that. You can see, even though they're laying down, they have great big humps on their backs between their shoulders. And that is the place where the muscles from the front part of their body come together and provide them with a pivot point for energy. That allows them to store energy, but it allows them to run really fast as well. Lots of people think that bison are just like big brown fuzzy cows. They are not. They're wild animals, and they actually cause more injuries in Yellowstone National Park each season than bear have caused over the entire life of the park. So bison can be a really dangerous species, and they really have to be treated with. So if you're in a situation where you can see a bison up close, make sure that there's a fence between you or you're keeping a good distance away. Bison were also one of the staples of the Native Americans that lived in North America, and this, well, for a large swath in North America, but this area especially, they used every part of the bison that they possibly could. And I mean every part down to the hooves. They would make adhesive out of the hooves. They would cook the hooves for hours and hours in boiling water, and it would make an adhesive that they could use to do all kinds of interesting things. Even the kids got their toys from the bison. They would make balls from the bison fur so they could play games together. Do you guys have any great bison questions for us?
We do.
Oh,
So,
I'm ready.
are there animals that are predators to the bison?
There are bison predators. Those would be wolves, mountain lions, and humans. But with the animal predators, they're going to be seeking the old, the sick, or the really young bison. Healthy bison are really formidable, meaning that it's going to be really hard for a predator to take them down. So they look for the ones that they would have a better chance with and isolate them and go for them.
And the other question is, the bison were such a important animal. Are they a keystone species to Kansas?
They are a keystone species. They fill a really important niche in our prairie lands, especially the shortgrass prairie. They act as the land keepers, basically. They're keeping the grass at just the right length. They're eating the grass in just the right way so that it'll grow back. They're spreading seeds. Even where they would lay and roll in the dust to get rid of pests, provided more habitat for more animals because eventually those wallows held water. And then you could have things like frogs and toads living close by because water was available for longer periods of the year.
And we have several students, especially Connor wants to know, what do the bison generally eat?
Bison eat grass. It is the cornerstone of all of their meals. And here at Sedgwick County Zoo, we provide them with high quality prairie grass, but they also get some snacks like lettuce or carrots or various produce items just to keep things interesting and also for training.
And then Jameson wants to know, how do bison survive during the winter?
Oh, I wish we could all have the opportunity to put our fingers into bison fur right now because it is thick and coarse and it's got layers, kind of like Shrek says, you know, an ogre has layers. So do bison. They've got a thick, coarse outer layer of fur that acts sort of like a raincoat. It traps the rain on the outside and the air on the inside. And then they've got fuzzier, warmer fur underneath that keeps the air right next to their body, just the right temperature. So the moisture stays out, they stay warm. They don't really mind those cold temperatures.
Well, Mrs. Nelson's class wants to know if you could tell how much bison would weigh.
Well, our zookeepers would know just right off the cuff, they could tell us what our herd range is. I'd have to look it up. Numbers don't stay in my brain well, but yes, bison are generally very large animals, bigger than our big cows.
And we've had several classes ask if they are endangered or threatened.
They are an endangered species. Our bison are purebred bison. So they've got all of their genetics are from bison, but there are bison herds out there that have a mix. The bison that live there are a mix between bison and cattle. So purebred bison, genetically pure bison, are a really rare occurrence. And we don't have wide open places that they need to range anymore.
Very cool. Let's answer one more question because I know we have more animals to go see. We do have a class that is wanting to know what is the most aggressive animal in Kansas, which might be a good transition back to the golf cart.
The most aggressive animal in Kansas. Well, I'm not trying to be cheeky, but I'd have to say humans. But if we're talking about wild animals, that's a tough one. Out of all of the animals that currently live in Kansas, the most aggressive would probably be, coyotes maybe. We do have transit mountain lions that can be aggressive. For the most part, though, animals try to avoid us. And so unless there's a reason, they try to avoid us and not be in our midst so they don't have to be aggressive.
Very nice. And as we're walking back, the students want to know if any of your bison have names.
They all have names, but I can't remember any of them.
That's okay. And let's see, we have one student that's asking if the bison are sick, how do you have zookeepers care for them?
We have a full staff of veterinarians and vet techs. So the zookeepers are like the first line of defense. They notice any differences. Be really careful. I don't want you to slur. And so if they notice any differences, they report that to the vets and the vet techs, and we do observations. And then depending on what's going on, the vets will treat them. They can give them antibiotics if they need antibiotics. They can give them fluids if they need fluids, vitamins, minerals. They've got all of the same tools that a vet has at their disposal, like a vet that you would go to. Plus, we have lots of people in our community that have resources that they lend us if we need something that we don't normally have.
And I know why you're loading up here. Alexander's asking about horns on the bison. Well, how do they use those?
Horns.
Horns on the bison, they use them in a couple of different ways. They'll use them so that they can defend themselves, and they can use those hooked horns and they can throw predators or even challenging bison up in the air with those huge horns. It's kind of like a battering ram, but they can also use them like a snow plow in the wintertime. You ready?
Yep.
And they'll use their big heads and horns to sweep away the snow so that they can get to the grass underneath.
So where are we heading next?
Let's go visit another keystone species, since you guys know your vocab, and that would be the prairie dogs. I love prairie dogs because they are really important to the prairie, the short grass prairie.
And
So
not
here we
everybody
go. We're
knows.
almost there.
Not everybody knows what a
Hello.
keystone species is. Kara, can you explain a keystone?
Kara, not everybody knows what a keystone species is.
They disappear, then that habitat could also disappear because they are so important. So when the bison disappeared from the prairie landscape, other animals disappeared and plants. And so as prairie dogs are removed from the landscape, other animals that depend on them also disappear. These guys offer a lot of services in nature. We could spend our whole time just talking about these adorable little rodents. They are very fun to watch, and charismatic and cute. But what we don't understand is all of the services they're doing in nature all the time. Their digging actually aerates the ground and allows water and oxygen to see. They're agreeing with me, saying that they're so important. But it allows water and oxygen to get to the roots of the plants, providing stronger plants. So grasses actually do better in areas with prairie dogs because they're gardening the prairie. They spread seeds because they have little burrows down, or the little rooms inside their burrows where they stockpile grasses over the winter. And then those seeds are down there surviving the winter, and then they get pushed out in the spring and I'll have a chance to grow. And they are a staple food for many animals on the prairie. I know we look at them and don't think food, but things like black-footed ferrets and coyotes, birds of prey like eagles, all would have a prairie dog lunch if they could. Do you guys have prairie dog questions for us?
We do. One of the students is asking, how fast can a prairie dog run?
Ooh, I bet you a prairie dog could run about this as fast as an average human over about 25 or 30 feet. They are really fast in short bursts. So as fast as you go when you're racing on the playground, but not for a long time.
Well, I just looked it up at the National Parks Service website and says they can go 35 miles an hour.
You're kidding me.
That's what the
I
National
never
Park
would have
Service said.
guessed, because that's about what a bison tops out at. And so that's pretty amazing. I would have never have said that, but now I'll never forget it.
There you go. And with the prairie dogs, these guys can multiply pretty quickly, but you have to be keeping special guardrails to make sure they stay in their habitat here. What have you had to do at the zoo?
Oh boy, so many, many moons ago when I was a baby zookeeper, the prairie dogs here at Sedgwick County Zoo had found a way to leave their exhibit and were populating the bison yard. And there were even a couple that made it to the Sedgwick County Park nearby. And so we had to fortify this exhibit by digging it out. And it's basically a concrete bowl. You can see around the edges is that it curls up. And it's just a giant concrete bowl that's holding the dirt. And the reason the edges curl up is so that the prairie dogs don't climb out. They don't have the right body shape to be able to climb over that ledge.
So another student, Sarah and Everett, are both asked about the lifespan of a prairie dog.
So the lifespan of the prairie dog is not very long in the wild, probably 3 or 4 years. In the past, we've had prairie dogs as animal ambassadors, and they lived upwards of 8 to 10 years. So the wild is a hard place to live if you're a rodent and a food species, but if you're in the care of a zookeeper, you can live quite a bit longer.
All right, next question is what makes them a rodent?
So scientists love to classify things, and they love to classify animals by different characteristics. And rodents are a group of animals that share characteristics. So they've got incisors. Their top two front and bottom two front teeth grow continuously throughout their lives. So they have to chew on things to keep those teeth from getting too long to eat. They are generally speaking pretty small animals. The largest rodent in North America is the beaver. So these guys have beaver cousins. But capybara are the largest rodents, so they don't get any bigger than that. Um, and then there's various structures inside their body, like the shape of the nose and their skull and where their eyes are. But the defining characteristic of rodents is really being small and having those incisors that grow throughout your life.
Mikey wants to know if they bite.
Yes. What a great question. And guess what? Out of all of the years I've worked at Sedgwick County Zoo, the worst injury I've ever sustained was from a cute little prairie dog who got startled and bit me on the leg. So they can bite, and their teeth are designed to shear off pieces of really tough grass. So they're like scissors. So they chomp through the grass. And so when the prairie dog got startled and bit me, she chomped right through my pants and right through my skin.
Well, that's a
And
pretty
no
wild
hard
story.
feelings to that prairie dog, by the way. She was just doing her thing.
She was just protecting herself, for sure.
Yes.
So another student wants to know if prairie dogs can swim.
So I would assume that if we put a prairie dog in a pool, it could swim to the edge if it were within a few feet. But they are not designed for swimming. They are also not supposed to climb, but they can climb. So animals will surprise you when given new opportunities, but they're not designed for swimming. Not a lot of natural opportunity for that.
And Kathleen wants to know how many pups generally come in a litter.
It depends on the year. If it's been a really good year, the prairie dog mom can have, 4 or 5 pups in a litter. 3 or 4 is probably the general rule.
And let's go one more before we jump in and go see another spot. What do the prairie
Okay.
dogs love to eat?
What? I didn't hear.
What do the prairie dogs love to eat?
They love to eat grass just like the bison, but you guys could probably tell that they're supplemented with some other things out there. Today I'm looking. Today there is leaf lettuce, my least favorite vegetable, probably the only one I really don't like, kale. And different kinds of commercial chow. So kind of like guinea pig chow, and I don't know what the bigger pieces of chow are, some sort of herbivore chow that they're eating.
All right, let's keep on moving.
And while you're doing that, Kara, they want to know the lifespan of a prairie dog. Mallory asked this question.
A lifespan of a prairie dog in the wild is going to be about 3 or 4 years. But in the care of humans, they can live a lot longer. We've had them live up to 8 to 10 years.
And Adrian is asking, would you consider the prairie dog a hostile or a calm animal?
A what?
Like calm or wild, hostile?
Um, well, all wild animals can be unpredictable and they do have sharp teeth. So prairie dogs, like all animals, really should be given lots of space.
Very nice. All right, we're on the move again. So we've seen two herbivores at this point. Does Kansas have a lot of herbivores, Kara?
Does Kansas have a lot of herbivores?
Lots of herbivores because we have lots of what, you guys? What is the main plant that grows in Kansas?
They know it. Definitely grass.
Grass. Very good. So that's the biggest food source we have. So there are many, many herbivores in our state.
All right, Kara, where are we headed to next?
Well, we're driving by grizzly bear, but I don't think she's out today. I don't see her at all. The bears here at Sedgwick County Zoo are fed year round, so they don't truly hibernate, but they do get a little sleepy and they get to choose if they come in or if they go out or stay in. So she may have made the choice to stay in. But we're rolling up now on the black bear exhibit, and we'll have to see if these guys are out. So they are. Clint, you want to jump off?
Yes.
I will park out of the way and be right there.
I do. Where you at? Oh, there you go.
The last time I was here, they were just like toddlers.
I know they've gotten so big. So these are our two black bear cubs from the Pacific Northwest. They're from Oregon. Right? Oregon, Washington, Oregon, Washington. It all blends together. They're so beautiful. But it's a boy and a girl. And just like I was saying about the grizzly bear, these guys are being fed normally. They're growing bears, so they didn't slow down their food for the winter. And they get to choose if they come out or stay in. And they definitely think it's a great day to come out. Yeah, I mean, this is really they are really having a great time. Pretty cool. And so I know well, I'll wait for the airplane to go by. They did not secure their flight plan with me today. So you guys are probably saying that lady at the zoo is crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Those are obviously not black bears because black bears are black. And those bears are not black. They're cinnamon colored like a grizzly bear. I understand where you're coming from, but I promise you they're black bears. Black bears can actually come in a wide variety of colors from black all the way to white. And these guys just happen to be a cinnamon face bear. There's other differences between grizzly bears and black bears besides color, the shape of the ears. The grizzly bear generally has a larger hump on its back or has a hump on its back. I find it really hard to distinguish between them if I don't have a grizzly bear and a black bear together to look at those differences. I'm not a bear expert. What questions do you guys have about black bears or these black bears?
So they are very curious about the diet.
So black bears are omnivores. Let's walk over here, Clint, and see if we can see any of their food. They have a wide variety of foods that they're offered each day. They get meat, prepared meat diet. They get commercial omnivore chow, which is kind of like omnivore cereal. They get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, everything from apples to sweet potatoes, lettuce, all of the things in between, because in the wild, they would be eating just about anything that they could get in their mouth. Really, they're opportunistic eaters and they're going to eat whatever they can find.
And there's a curiosity of how old these bears are.
Guess what? They were born in March. Thank goodness. They were born in March of this year. So, of 2024. Sorry, we started a whole nother year at this point. So they're almost a year old. And in the wild, they would be still with their mom. They'd be wrapping up their last few months with their mom.
So
And is that
Shelby
a
is,
Christmas tree?
Yes, that is a Christmas tree.
Shelby is asking, in the wild, where do black bears go in the winter in Kansas?
So very few black bears in Kansas. Most of them are moving, like just moving through the corners of Kansas, the southeast corner, sometimes the eastern part of the state, but they're going to live in places that have more trees. And black bears are not terribly picky about where they den for the winter. They'll go under a fallen tree. They will dig out a burrow of another animal and make it bigger. If they're lucky enough to find a cave or a rocky outcropping, they'll stay there. They're not picky though.
And we have one student that's asking about their teeth. Do they have a lot of teeth or just a few?
Oh, they have a lot of teeth. But the cool thing about bear teeth is because they're omnivores and people are omnivores, there's a lot of similarities in the structure of the teeth. So we have those biting teeth in the front think about taking a bite of an apple. So those incisors are what we use to take a bite, and that's the same thing, the same structure that the bear has. And then on either side of our incisors are the canine teeth. And the canine teeth are what we use to rip and tear things like McDonald's cheeseburgers. Bears can't use knives and forks, so they've got much larger canine teeth for ripping and tearing. And then molars to be able to chew up a large variety of foods.
So Adrian wants to know about the lifespan of this bear.
Well, I don't know of this one in particular, but black bears can live upwards of 20 plus years in the care of humans. So we have a very long future, and we hope to have a very long future with these bears as part of our population here at Sedgwick County Zoo.
And what is their favorite activity?
I think just playing together, being outside is probably their favorite thing. Rolling, moving their muscles, just kind of like recess is our favorite time. Not gonna fib, mine too. So they just enjoy that time outside playing.
Well, Mrs. Forrest's class is in Junction City. They're very curious to know why there aren't a lot of black bears in all of Kansas.
We just don't have enough wooded areas to sustain black bears. They need big swaths of wooded places. And they don't mind being on the edge of the woods and the grassland, but they have to have those wooded areas to get them through the winter. Just not enough food on the grassland for them in the summer. I mean, in the winter.
And how big do they get?
Gosh, they can get several hundred pounds. They're smaller than a grizzly bear, but if you meet a black bear in the wild, you're not going to think it's a small animal.
So now the Christmas tree question's coming up. Why is there a Christmas tree?
Oh, because it's just a lot of fun. Seriously, nothing goes to waste around here. Some of the hardware stores in town sell Christmas trees, and then at the end of the season, they don't have them anymore. Or they don't need them anymore, so they give them to us. And so lots of the animals have Christmas trees in their exhibits right now.
That is a lot of fun. So Mason is asking, because you said if these bears had been in the wild, they would be separating from their mothers soon. Is it a year that generally happens?
Yeah, that usually happens in about a year. They disperse, is what the scientists like to say. They begin to disperse and find their own territory.
All right.
Well, should we go find some more animals?
Let's get on the move. And Kara, while you're walking, we have a student that wants to know again, what are the other colors that black bears can be to remind them?
Basically, you can go from every color from black all the way to white with a bunch of different reds and beiges in between. All right, let's see if we can see the white-tailed deer. Oh, I see a squirrel. And I see a white-tailed deer. And a very unafraid squirrel. Squirrels at Sedgwick County Zoo are living the life, I'm telling you guys.
But a fun fact, Kara, is Kansas has black squirrels as well as brown, correct?
We do have black and red, the fox squirrels, yes.
I thought so. Okay, tell us about the deer.
White-tailed deer can be found all over Kansas. The males have antlers during the colder months, and the females do not ever have antlers. But the males drop their antlers, and I would like to ask if anybody knows why the males have antlers.
They're thinking about it. They'll put their answers in the chat.
I'm always thinking myself, always. They're very important tools for the boys. Boy, she just decided to take a bath in front of
She's
everybody.
just
Didn't
having a bath.
She's very dainty. You see her tiny little skinny legs. Those allow her to bound through all kinds of different habitat. When you see a deer run, you're seeing them really, they're not running like we do. They're bouncing, and that allows them to go faster and clear more obstacles that way. As we run, we're kind of almost shuffling our feet sometimes, meaning that we'll get caught up in debris and fall down. But they are bouncing over everything that they can.
Does she have an indoor? I see an opening.
Yep, there's a little barn over there where she can go if she chooses to go in. Sometimes they shut the door so they can clean, but really most of the animals have a choice almost always.
Did they have any guesses for her question?
They said for protection of the herd or themselves.
Definitely will protect themselves. But what they're protecting themselves from might surprise you. They're protecting themselves from other male white-tailed deer because they're all looking for the ladies. Those boy white-tailed deer want to look very handsome for the girls, and those antlers help, but they also will fight over the ladies, and those antlers help with those fights as well. It's another airplane.
So yes, Mrs.
And
Hart.
people always ask me, do they fight to the death? No, that's really not the point. They just want to get the girl's attention so that she sees who's tougher. And one will usually give up and no one's usually injured, but that is not an always situation.
So we had a few guess that, and Mrs. Hartwig's class actually said maybe to show dominance in front of the girls.
Absolutely. The bigger the antlers, generally speaking, they get bigger each year of life. They get more points, more tines on them. So the bigger the antlers, the more impressive to the ladies. He's survived longer. He must be smart.
And Mrs. Farr's class says, don't the antlers get long like teeth?
Get long?
Like teeth.
They do get long, and they get longer every year.
Very cool.
I do. How much time do we have?
We have 10 more minutes.
Okay, because I really feel like we have to go see one of my favorite prairie animals. I know it's not a everywhere in Kansas animal, but okay. I have to tell the whole truth. This is my all-time favorite animal. So we have to, but we're gonna go around. I know, because wherever a zookeeper puts water, it will find a way to escape.
Yeah. How do you?
Here we have the North American river otter. One of the
Yay.
funnest animals to watch when they're active. there's a second North American river otter who's doing a very North American river otter thing, and that's sleeping in this log over here. But this one seems to be wondering what I'm up to, wondering if I have any snackies. And I do not, because I am not the otter zookeeper. So I would never feed the otters. But the zookeepers feed them, a wide variety of meat items. Meatballs that they make from commercial carnivore diet, which is just meat. They feed them fish. They feed them crawdads or crayfish. They also sometimes will catch small snakes in here and eat snakes. River otters are kind of like bears in the fact that they'll eat a lot of different things if they get the chance. And I know that river otter just must be freezing in the water right now, right? How on earth is it tolerating that cold water swimming in January? Anybody know?
They have, do they have a way to keep themselves warm? Someone asked.
They do have a way to keep themselves warm. It's a couple of ways. One is something that we're pretty familiar with, especially when we talk about polar animals, and that's a layer of fat. With polar animals, we refer to it as blubber, but otters do get a thicker layer of fat in the winter. So that insulates their muscles and helps them stay the right temperature. But also their fur, oh my goodness, their fur is well designed for their lifestyle and their habits. The outer fur, kind of like the bison's fur, acts as a raincoat and keeps the fur underneath it dry. You can see as the otter is swimming, there's little bubbles coming off of the otter. Those are not bubbles coming from its lungs. What's happening is some of the air that's trapped in its underfur is bubbling out into the surface. So they basically have fur long johns or fur long underwear that they keep them warm all year round. And cool in the summer because it keeps them just the right temperature.
Mrs. Cruz's first grade class loves the otters, and they want to know how many you have at the zoo.
We have 2 North American river otters here at Sedgwick County Zoo, and that's about the max. Every once in a while, we have a litter of river otter babies, but we do not have any breeding plans right now.
They are bigger than we assumed they would be.
Yeah.
But what are 2 fun facts about the otters?
2. I have to choose 2. Okay. I'm trying to make sure that they're all the funnest ones. Okay. Otter poop is called spraint. It's very funny. It's very important because they use it to mark their territory. So scientists are always on the lookout for that. A second cool otter fact is that otters, although they look like, I really want to go in there and snuggle it. I do. They are not snuggly creatures. When they get older, they get very territorial and have very sharp teeth and can be very dangerous. And so we don't even go in with the otters without some protection. I never get to, but such is life.
Have you ever got to go in there?
No.
Never.
No, but I've had the opportunity to watch trainings and watch the husbandry of them. It's not a very big area on the inside, so there's not a lot of room for a second person to go
Gotcha.
on the routine.
And what would they do if they go on land? What is it they looking for and explore?
They can be looking for anything to eat, or they have to sleep on land. And so they're gonna go look for a nice burrow to stay in for the night. They spend a lot of time having fun. She's blowing around there. They spend a lot of time just having fun. So they aren't too terribly picky about burrows either, but they'll come out of the water to take a nap or look for some snacks or just rest.
And we've had a few classes ask about the lifespan of the otter.
Oh, that's a good one. Lifespan of an otter, I'm going to say in the wild, probably 8 to 10 years. And I know that we have one otter that was 18 at Sedgwick County Zoo, so they can live quite a while. But again, an animal in the care of humans is going to have more opportunities for a longer life than a wild animal.
Should we find one last animal to finish it up?
Yep, we have time for one more. And I've really enjoyed all of the questions that the students are asking. Great questions.
I enjoy them too. It makes it more fun.
And while you're walking, Bryson wants to know if you had a pool in your backyard, could you keep an otter as a pet?
No, otters would not make good pets. They are wild animals and they can bite. But I will walk by the otters at Sedgwick County Zoo every opportunity I get.
And let's see, Grady wants to know if how long they can hold their breath.
Up to about 2 minutes. That's a really long time. But they can get up to 2 minutes of holding their breath. Oh my gosh, there's so many things in this area that I love. One is very sleepy right now. Can you guys find the very sleepy animal? It might be hard to see. There is a bit of a glare on this glass. So I'm gonna help out. Very sleepy. Black-footed ferret. I can see its little nose in there. I don't know.
Hard to
can you
see on camera.
Close?
I can give them the side.
I don't know, or a female. It is hard to see. But I love black-footed ferrets. Here's some good graphics over here that'll help you see them. They're a cousin of the otter. So they have that weasel-shaped body because they're part of the weasel family. And their favorite food is prairie dogs. And so these guys specialize in eating prairie dogs and help keeping their populations in check. And I had a really amazing experience this past fall. Every year, Sedgwick County Zoo gets to participate in black-footed ferret recovery efforts where we get to go release or check on black-footed ferrets that have been released in the wild in Kansas. And I got to go do that this year. The hardest thing is prairie dogs are nocturnal. And Kara is not. I am very much asleep during the night kind of girl. So I had to stay up all night, 2 nights in a row, and look for black-footed ferrets. And so we did finally find one, but then a storm came in and we had to get out of the prairies to be safe, and we were not able to record its number. So it was an adventure with storms and driving fast and all of that fun stuff. But we do real conservation with black-footed ferrets. It's a fun experience.
Smoke, do we want to do one last question?
Yes. So with the black-footed ferret, is it the kind of ferret that people can get as pets?
No, this is a very different creature. The ferret that we have for a pet is a domestic ferret, which is its lineage goes back to Europe. These guys are native to North America, and there's not domesticated black-footed ferrets. These friends are very much friend-shaped, but are not friends and will bite. And so they can be pretty ferocious. So whenever we work with black-footed ferrets, we have to take precautions. We keep hands off of these guys all the time.
And we know that the black-footed ferret is an endangered or threatened, correct?
It's critically endangered. It's almost extinct.
So what can we do? What can we do as Kansas kids to protect the ferret?
Really, just the things that we can do to protect ferrets or take care of our own backyards. Every piece of litter that goes on the ground in Wichita, Kansas, or in Junction City, or even in Canada, could end up in our waterways here. And so by keeping the litter picked up, we can keep the waterways cleaner, which helps all animals. And learning about animals and sharing what you learn is also a really powerful tool as well. That could be one. Get excited about black-footed ferrets like me and start telling people, and then they get excited, and then woo, it's a chain reaction.
And I think we all can do our part to help in that sense. So thank you, Kara. And thank you, Clint. You're a great camera guy today. And thank you, students, for joining us on this Lunch and Learn. I hope you learned a couple of new fun facts. We'll see you on another adventure.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, thanks.